Hello, everybody. As said in the intro, this is Tim Markle. He will be the co-presenter, co-helper, just general helper. And my name is Hunter. I am his son, and I will be taking you through Transition Ready, Bridging the Gap, presented by
the Youth Health Transition Initiative of Wisconsin. But we're not going to spend too much time today on the boring nuts and bolts as much as we can, because we want to talk a little bit more and get a little bit more
personal.
Yeah, what does that mean?
By being in depth and everything, and just saying screw the nuts and bolts. Let's just get down to the nitty-gritty about how this can impact your life and self-determination.
Absolutely, and also how it impacts your life. So not just talking about transition, but a little bit about your transition. Sound good?
Sounds perfectly fine.
All right, so this is who we are. We'll be joined by Lauren a little later via video. And that was really good. That was an interview you did, right?
Correct. My first one ever.
Nice job. Well, at least I thought it was a nice job. We'll let them decide later.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, so they can vote in the chat later whether it was a nice job after they see the video. Okay. So do you want me to talk about our network?
Seeing how you're the main one here that knows more about the network than I, yes.
Then I guess I'll take it. So the Youth Health Transition Initiative is part of Children and Youth with Special Healthcare Needs Network in Wisconsin. It includes all our partners that you see on the screen there. Just want to point out, we have a resource center that has multi-language. Their newest thing, the Wild Badger Resource Center, now has a mental health navigator that is down to the county level. That looks really cool. The other partners help us with family support, family leadership. We have a couple of national performance measures. One, our medical home, that whole sense of partnering with your doctor, and what is your care coordination? How is care coordinated around yourself or your child with special health care needs? And then the other place that I work for is the Southern Regional Center in Orange. And we have 5 regional centers throughout Wisconsin. Each of them are there to help families and the professionals that support families to find resources to be supported, to find parent-to-parent support, to find groups, to figure out what to do when the school's just not online, that you're just not communicating well with the school. So we are there to help. And like I said, we have 5 across Wisconsin. So there is a regional center for you. But what we are is our other national performance measure, which is transitioning from adolescent care to adult health care, which is called Health Transition. And so we are here to support youth and their families, because we know nobody grows up in a vacuum, because you can't breathe.
No, you
can't breathe in a vacuum.
Very much true. No the sound.
No sound in a vacuum either. No, not to mention that it's usually full of dust and there's a bag and it's really gross and stuff inside.
Unless you're talking about the vacuum of space.
Oh, there's different vacuums.
Yes, there's multiple different types of vacuums.
See, I didn't want to be in the vacuum that goes along the carpet.
That's a cleaning vacuum. That is something completely and utterly different.
Oh, so you can breathe in that?
No, you still can.
Oh, okay. So we are the Youth Health Transition Initiative. And so we support the youth, and then anybody who supports the youth, supporting the youth to adult healthcare.
And please keep your eye out for the abominable snowman my dad likes to call Yeti, because it's Yeti, as seen by the bottom left corner.
Yes, because we work for a state organization and the university, so therefore we need an acronym. You're not real unless you have an acronym in the state government. So our acronym is Yeti. And so keep an eye on the Yeti. Will there be a prize if somebody gets the correct number of Yetis?
Other than us finally knowing how many Yetis you put in these presentations? No.
Good point. The number of Yetis does change. So what do we do at Youth Health Transition? Well, we are there to ensure that high quality, developmentally appropriate healthcare services are available in an uninterrupted manner as the person moves from adolescence to adulthood. So we could unpack that for days to try to figure out exactly what it means. But basically it means we want people to stay healthy, to be healthy and stay healthy from adolescent to adulthood, to understand how their care works from adolescent to adulthood when they are taking as much charge of their life as they can. We believe this process, we have on the slide that it starts in early adolescence, but in reality, transition starts at birth.
Very much so. Very much so.
Because right from birth, you start to give your, well, maybe not right from birth.
No, not directly from birth,
But-
maybe a few months after.
Yeah, sure, a few months after, because you start to give your kiddo choices. Well,
Mhm.
you don't, but I did.
Yeah.
I started to give you choices and started to, as you got older, do some decision making and
Mhm.
learn what some of the consequences of your choices were and take charge of different parts of your life. These are all important stepping stones to then apply in youth health transition.
Mhm.
So transition itself is the process.
Right.
We have a specific point in time called the transfer of care. And that usually occurs between 18 and 22. It can vary depending on the health system and the individual.
Mhm.
So we help health systems support transition efforts within their clinics. We have a learning community, which y'all can join if you go to our website. Hey, which we have a website that includes community outreach.
Doesn't
And then
everybody nowadays have a website?
I think so. I think even vacuums have
Yeah,
websites.
yeah.
Yeah. And so it also is a place that we disseminate health transition resources. We try to partner through trainings, exhibits, community partnerships. If it has to do with transition from an adolescent to adulthood, we want healthcare to be part of that discussion.
Didn't we go to an exhibit all the way up in Prairie du Chien recently?
We did. We were at the Harnessing Abilities Transition Summit.
Right,
in
we're
Prairie du
at
Chien.
Temple Grandin.
Yeah, we got to meet Dr. Temple Grandin. That was pretty cool.
First time for me being on a panel.
She's pretty awesome.
Yes.
And you did well, and we did
Yeah,
really well
we did
until
well.
the storm came through. And that shut things down rather abruptly.
Yeah, Mother Nature sucks, but it's a beautiful part of our world nonetheless.
True. Absolutely. So what are we going to do today, Hunter?
Well, we're going to talk about what specifically is healthcare transition, introduce different types of readiness assessments from the one created by God Transition
Love them.
and a few others, talk about main 8 tools for this major transition that is a part of adolescence to adulthood, and ways to help youth talk about their own health and be a self-advocate, which also ties into self-determination.
Absolutely. Right back to the conference.
Right back to the conference.
Awesome. All right. Well, why don't you dig us on in?
Well, this picture was from, I forget what year, but it was up in Door County and everything. The rock me and my dad are standing on has subsequently been flooded over, but it took time for me to step out there, and he did have to help. It's kind of like having a helping hand in healthcare transition, because it's not just, all right, let's just toss you right in.
You would prefer that I didn't just push you right out onto the rock?
No, I would not.
Do you remember what else was around that rock?
There was a pier,
Yeah,
a
so
bunch
we're
of
on a
other
pier.
smaller rocks that were in the water and were not. One is not large enough to hold 2 people, of course.
Mhm.
A building of some sort on said pier and a parking lot. Oh, and
Yeah.
a lot of trees and birds.
There were birds.
There were
There were
birds.
We like birds.
And fish. There were possibly fish somewhere in that picture as well.
I hope so. So yeah, we took a little time walking around that pier and taking a look at that big rock.
Mhm.
And then I would go out onto the big rock. Maybe your sister would go out to make sure that it was safe.
Yep.
You know, sort of showing you the way.
A cousin, I believe, also went out there
Yes.
because it was for my grandparents on my mother's side's wedding anniversary.
Correct, their 50th. Congratulations, them.
Yeah, 50 amazing years together and still going.
Still, yeah, they're still going. That's awesome. So it was a process to get you out there. There was no way that I could just throw you out on the rock and say, here, go to this, because it would have been scary. It would have been anxiety ridden.
Mhm.
You didn't have the skills to
Nope.
get out there at that point.
Well, I
And-
did have the skills. It's called they.
Yes,
I just didn't want to use them.
you're right. You did have the skills. So that was the process of getting out on the rock. And that's where healthcare is a process too. What is it a process of?
It's changing from a pediatrician to an adult model of healthcare and everything. And as we already plugged, God Transition is an amazing provider to help with that. more on that later on.
Absolutely. And now there are some young adults, adolescents in Wisconsin who don't have pediatricians.
No,
Do they have to worry about the transition to adult healthcare?
of course.
Because they're two different systems, aren't they?
Yes.
Is
it
the way that you're treated, well, you know this.
Mhm.
You're still young enough to remember when you were an adolescent, you know,
Yeah.
when you were a teenager.
Yep.
And-
Horrible years.
There were differences between the way you interacted with healthcare as a teenager and the way you interact with healthcare as an adult.
Mhm.
So we can talk a little bit more
Yep.
about those a little later. So besides you,
Mhm.
who else needs to think about transition?
Well, teenagers that will be turning 18, of course, families, their legally provided guardians, if they do not have family that can take care of them, and friends, community leaders, anybody that's a part of their support group. And it is very important if they have some disability or
Why is it really important for people with a disability to have that transition well done, do that really well?
because some of them are really attached to their current healthcare and everything.
Yeah.
And they don't want to leave their circle. They just don't want to put themselves in a new puzzle piece and
Yeah.
everything.
You're right. There's a lot of families who have been with their primary care providers and with their specialists. There's some really rough, complex medical times
Mhm.
for pretty much all of their life.
Right,
And then we're getting to a point where we're saying, okay, you can't see them anymore.
right.
And that can be really, really hard. And so it has to be done well
Right.
so that we can lessen that anxiety and they have someone quality to transfer their care to.
Mhm.
Awesome. Can you think of any other reason or anybody else who needs to really concentrate on this or any other reason why people with a disability, why that would be important for them?
Not off the top of my head at this point in time.
All right, me neither. So yeah, just that whole continuum of care. That was the other thing, is because their health, some people have really fragile health, like you're in pretty good health.
I am in pretty good health.
Some people have some really complex things going on in their bodies.
Hmm.
And it's really important that they stay connected to the healthcare world so that their care can continue. So there's no gap,
Right.
because bad things can happen in those gaps.
Correct.
So-
And we don't want people to fall through those gaps, and no matter if they're as large as Texas or as small as going from Belgium to the Netherlands in a single step up in Europe.
Is that possible? Are they connected?
It's possible, yeah.
They're connected?
They're connected. They're right next door to each other
Hmm.
then. You literally can
Oh.
drive from Berlin to Paris and back.
I know where Texas is, but Belgium and the Netherlands?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, Europe,
Really?
across the
Really?
Atlantic
All
Ocean.
right. So why is health so important?
Well, for one, increase independence, a better day-to-day healthy life, an opportunity to expand education and everything by going to a college, a university, a technical college, or even just going into a workforce as an apprentice to a plumber or an electrician.
Yeah. Well, you've been in the workforce
I've been in the workforce.
and you actually had to talk to your supervisor and
Mhm.
people about health concerns.
Right.
What happened there?
What happened there was the industrial dishwasher, some chemical in the steam started hurting my lungs. So I had to start using an inhaler. My supervisor came up to me one day after work and asked, hey, do you want to move over to the housekeeping department and everything? So that way you can continue working here, but won't have that health problem anymore. And I jumped on that opportunity and stayed there for another 2.5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had to explain to them that you were having a health problem,
Mhm.
that this was somehow affecting you, and then you worked out a solution with your supervisor.
Correct.
And do you feel that you are more effective working as a healthy housekeeper than you were as an inhaler dishwasher?
Inhaler dietitian.
Inhaler dietitian aide, sorry.
But yes, I loved both of those jobs, but because of the health impact, I didn't feel like I was working 100% at the dietitian aid part of the business I worked at.
So the healthier you feel, the better you worked.
Exactly.
That's a,
Same thing with education. The healthier you are, the better your brain can work. If you are more healthy, the better you can move around in your day-to-day life, which increases your independence because you won't be stuck in a bubble.
Yeah, and no matter your ability or disability, you still have a level of optimum health that when you are there, you get to do more things.
Exactly.
You feel better and you're able to do more.
Correct.
So this matters as we seek independence or interdependence as adults. All right, quiz time.
Yay.
All right, Hunter, what major transition for most people, not everyone, and definitely not across the world, but in, let's just say, Wisconsin, what happens at age 16 for most Wisconsinites? What's the big milestone?
Get to be able to drive.
Excellent.
It took me
And
3 tries, but I got there in the end.
took me a number of tries too. And we took a little bit of time with you, didn't we? Why did it? I mean, it took year and a half of practice driving.
Yep.
Why so much?
Because I sucked.
No, that's not why it was. You know that. It's not because you were bad at it. You remember this, you don't remember this conversation.
I remember the conversation.
So the conversation that I'm remembering went, well, do you want to go take your test now? No, not yet. I don't feel comfortable. Okay, well, you let us know when you're comfortable, and then you can go and take your driver's test.
It also doesn't help that we couldn't use the Madison DMV, which was where we primarily did all our test driving.
But what I really liked was the fact that there's a lot involved in driving. Yeah. There's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of way that you need to focus and you need to watch out for things. And you didn't want to have that responsibility until you felt you were ready for it.
And I'm still possibly one of the safer drivers out there.
You're a very safe driver now. So it wasn't that you sucked. It's that you want to be sure of what you're doing. And the same thing goes with healthcare.
Yeah.
And that's why we have a process so that people can practice being sure with their health provider. They can practice their medications. They can practice all these things before they're responsible for it.
Correct. And we will get more onto medications and appointment settings later on.
Okay, thank you for keeping me moving along. Age 18, what generally happens?
Voting.
Voting important for people with disabilities?
100%.
Absolutely. Policy matters?
100%.
All right. And what happens?
Like politicians.
And also what happens at 18 that goes along with the right to vote?
You become an adult, which is a very big and scary word.
Yes, you are responsible for your actions. You can enter into contracts.
And what is the biggest action at age 21 that we have to be very responsible about there, Dad?
What is it?
Drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes.
And you should do both those things if you can.
Very, very responsibly.
That's right. We do.
Don't destroy your body.
That's right. We live in Wisconsin, which is known as having a drinking culture. And so we just believe that you should be able to do this responsibly. And that goes for whatever your ability is.
Yeah, exactly. You can drive down the main street here in our hometown and find at least 6 bars that are constantly open at night.
True that.
Maybe 7. I lost count.
So the major issue, though,
is becoming an adult.
Scary time, scary time. But luckily, you don't have to jump right into being an adult, right?
Oh, there's stepping stones to it.
Awesome. And so you move from different things that you can practice at different ages to build your skills for when you become an adult.
Yeah.
Awesome. So some of those things that we talk about in the healthcare world are at age 12. Clinics can make youth and family aware of their transition policy. We encourage every clinic that sees children, because children will grow to be adults. So every place that sees children should have a transition policy, should have a plan for what happens as this kid turns 12, 13, 14, on their way to 18. How are they going to help them take charge of their healthcare as an adult? So that's that transition policy. And we work with clinics to try to establish those policies. But we also encourage families when they're 12 and 13 to start to talk to their doctor and to say, hey, what's your transition policy?
Right.
How do you support me becoming an adult and me taking charge of my healthcare?
Correct.
And then when they say, what are you talking about? You can send them to us at Youth Health Transition.
Or to God Transition.
Or to God Transition. Some excellent resources for
very,
clinics.
Especially, you know,
Really
very
true.
assessment and everything.
Do you know of one thing that you could do at 12 and 13 that could help you prepare
What?
for that transition?
What?
Well, I can think of a couple things. Do you know what we had you do about that age? Do you remember?
No.
Well, one of the things was we had you go up and introduce yourself to the person at the desk.
Oh.
My name's Hunter Markle, and I'm here to see Dr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
We had you doing that at like 12 or 13, which was really a big step for you because, you know, I think you might have already said, did you say you have autism?
No, I have not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just outed you.
Yes, you did.
Okay, well, you have autism.
Yes, and severe anxiety.
Yes, and you have severe anxiety, which means that going up to this desk was not something that you did naturally.
No, it was not 100% natural.
Didn't enjoy it at all.
I enjoyed it as a kid. I still don't like it as an adult.
But it was one of those where this is my appointment. I am the patient. I am here to see the doctor.
And the only reason why I liked it as a kid, because they always during the holiday seasons dressed up their desks.
They did. They did a really nice job of making it really friendly.
Yep.
Don't see too many dressed up desks in the
No,
adult world.
No.
Mm,
Well,
it's
outside of
unfortunate.
Christmas lights
Yeah. Yeah.
and Thanksgiving
But
decorations.
you're right.
We're getting off track.
Okay,
again.
sorry.
Getting back off.
So the other thing is that you can start to spend time alone with your doctor.
Yeah, which didn't really work out for us.
It didn't.
And we will explain that more later on.
We can explain it now.
You sure?
Okay, we'll do it later.
Yeah, let's do
You
it
got
later.
it. You got it. So age 14, we can start talking about transition planning. Age 16, talk about what is, you know, start setting up, who are the new specialists, who are the new doctors, where are you going to go to the doctor, what hospital might you be going
Potentially
into?
new insurance card if you are switching hospitals.
That's
Because
true.
in care is a good thing. You don't want to go to an out of source specialist when it comes to health insurance, because you'll then rack up a very large bill. And my sister learned that the hard way.
Absolutely. Knowing the difference between in-network providers and out-of-network providers is really, really important.
Thank you. I forgot what that term was.
I don't know. I really liked the out of sorts.
Yeah.
I think that's a much better term for them, actually. Although I don't want to go see a doctor who's out of sorts. Hey, doc,
No.
what's going on today? You don't look good. No, I'm out of sorts. Ooh, can't see you. So then we get into the actual transfer of care, where you are handed off, hopefully in a very
Controlled manner.
controlled and detailed manner, where this new doctor understands who you are, what your preferences are, what you like, what not to call you, what to call you. And
Which is very important in today's political climate.
It is. And it's important that doctors know who you are, that you are more than just a medical record number.
Yep.
What are your preferences, yours, and what are your goals for life? These should be really important to your doctor. And so that's whether the doctor is seeing you as an adolescent or as an adult.
Right.
In Wisconsin, we just want to let you know that if you are going to a public school at age 14, you should start to meet with your team to set up a post-secondary transition plan. There's resources at the end of these slides that will point you to the transition integration grant.
Like an ADRC. What's an ADRC?
An ADRC stands for Aging and Disability Resource Center. And they will start talking to you usually at about when you're 17 and a half months old. They are the gateway to adult services in Wisconsin.
Really?
And then if you choose to pursue guardianship, which we'll talk a little bit about supported decision-making later as an alternative or a supplement to guardianship, you're going to want to be initiating that at 17 years and 9 months. You, of course, registered for the draft with Selected Service. You did very good with that. If you're receiving supplemental security income, SSI, as a kiddo, then the month of your 18th birthday, you're going to need to switch that over to adult. So all these things and so much more lead up to this age 18 because of the big scary time of
becoming an adult.
And so supported decision-making is this idea of you don't have to be an adult alone.
No, you should never go. You should never go alone in anything.
I totally agree with you on that. And so supported decision-making can be a formal way to help someone with a disability, to have someone more experienced and knowledgeable with them so that they can make, the person with the disability can make the best decision possible. And so the person with the disability keeps their rights to make decisions.
Correct.
That is a taken away. And I think that's really, really important. That as many decisions as we can make on our own. As many decisions you can make on your own, you should make on your own. But if there's questions about decision-making, what do?
Go to my parents.
That's a fantastic
Before
idea.
going to the internet.
Yes. Yes.
Do not ask too many questions on the internet because you don't know what rabbit hole you're going to go down.
Yes, ask your parents before Dr. Google.
Yes.
That's really good advice. And so ask your parents, and if we're for some reason not knowledgeable on that subject, let's say you had a question about the lawnmower.
I would go to my grandpa.
Yeah, you know someone else who knows that sort of stuff.
No, mainly because he repairs that thing better than actual mechanics.
He's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about tools and resources. We're going to get in now to the 8 tools of transition. And this is where I'm going to remind you that we do have an awesome website, Health Transition Wisconsin. We have a resource book out there, workbook that goes with our Build Your Bridge trainings. We do Build Your Bridge trainings, which is for families of children with youth with special healthcare needs to transition. We do a Bridging Your Gap, which is more for the community, more just more. It's just not specifically for families.
No, it's pretty much for everyone from the President of the United States to a random homeless person in Arizona.
They're all welcome.
They're all welcome to this.
Especially as it's all virtual right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have Dreaming Differently, which is for kiddos and families with complex care. So really complex. And what does that transition look like? And then, of course, we have trainings for our providers as well. But let's talk about these tools. And we're not going to be able to get into all of them.
No,
we can go to our website for some of them. But what do you want to talk about?
Well, let's first talk about the appointments and everything, because you were talking about my pediatrician times and everything.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did have that story. So what do you want to talk about with your appointments?
Well, the primary one outside of the pediatrician is my dietitian and nutritionist one.
So how did you end up with a dietitian? I don't remember ever setting up an appointment for you for a dietitian.
I set up that one personally by talking to my primary care doctor about how I can gain weight healthily and everything, and about nutrition. So they got in contact with a nutritionist and dietitian, and my parents caught me leaving that day for my appointment and asked me, where are you going? And I informed them that I'm going to go see a dietitian that my doctor recommended. And you were pretty much...
I said you don't have a dietitian, Hunter.
I do, and I still have the paperwork from said dietitian. I just need to scrounge it up in the basement.
So that was something that you did on your own with talking to your primary care doctor.
Right, and set up appointments for said primary care doctor and for my dietitian and everything as well, along with my eye care doctor as well.
And so these appointments, now that you're just like totally making your appointments, what has, I remember when you were a teenager, getting you to talk on the phone to make appointments, which was how appointments were generally made back then. That was a pretty heavy lift.
Yeah, that was a long road, very long road.
You did not like talking on the phone.
I still don't.
Good point.
I prefer text or email.
So back then, do you remember how you learned how to make your appointments?
Well, one, dialing the number and then you handled it.
That was the first step, yes.
The second step was you coaching me on what they were asking and then walking away.
Yes, I abandoned you to the mean schedule.
No, I walked away.
Oh, okay. Actually, that's true. I do remember that. You left me to finish off the appointment.
Yep. And then you sitting in while I did the full appointment and everything.
Yeah.
And then walked in my chart.
So what is my chart?
My chart is the most beautiful piece of technology here based in Wisconsin, and through the, is it SSM Health theme as well?
That is your healthcare. That is
healthcare, and they're the ones that set up my chart.
So what do you use my chart for?
appointments, billing, checking on medications, scheduling appointments, healthcare summary, which is another health tool there and everything, double checking health insurance and everything about me for my doctors are on there as well as the names of my adult providers.
Yeah, because you have a specialist for your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, you were seeing someone for the anxiety. They
Yeah.
weren't on my chart, but
They were
that's
not
a
on
different,
my
that was
chart,
different.
but that was still.
But that
on
health
my
summary,
chart.
you're right. You can look and you can see like your test results. You could look at if you were seeing your dietitian regularly, then you would probably be tracking your weight.
Yeah.
And your weight gain. So you could look at all that right there. Awesome.
Yeah.
Which other of these tools are you using now?
Well, I'm taking medications and everything. Multivitamins, a vitamin B, a vitamin D, and a vitamin C are all the ones I am currently on.
Now, there are parts in everybody's lives that we're just not the best at.
No.
Sometimes I just do not remember some things. And I remember there were times where having you remember to do something, even if it's something that you did every single day in a row, that was kind of hard. There was just, it just didn't click.
No.
So how did it click for you?
Well, first, my mom brought out a daily pill organizer. I forgot what it was called for a few seconds there. Sorry, everyone. But she started filling that up and leaving it on top of the microwave. And I just started regularly remembering to do that. And then I started refilling it. Then I went off the pill organizer and just started taking one pill daily and everything every day from each of the 4 bottles.
And this is a question that I didn't ask before, so this will be an interesting answer. Do you know why you're taking any of those?
Why I'm taking them is because I am deficient in all of the vitamin B, vitamin D, vitamin C, and multivitamins to help because of depression, anxiety, and autism, which is all 3 of my major health problems outside of being a little under the weight for my age group.
Yep.
I'm still working on that.
And the autism effects, because growing up and still to this day,
I was not fitting into any sort of box that they wanted me to.
Not at all. And that included what you wanted to eat and what you could tolerate eating was very narrow, not many things at all.
No.
And so now you've learned that you need to take vitamins to supplement because your diet just doesn't include everything that it should, because it just doesn't work for you.
On the concept of that, I need to start eating more fruits and vegetables.
I think everybody in the world would agree with you. What other ones?
Well, we already touched up on emergency contact information if you were in session 6. Okay, so we have no need to go over that. What, they really did. Red Cross had a card and everything for that.
Yes, if you happen to be in but what if somebody wasn't in the Red Cross? What would you tell them about emergency contacts?
I would tell them that they should keep a physical card with either their parents, guardians, or a very trusted friend in their wallet, in their phone, or in their car, or anywhere pretty much would be a general good thing. Having emergency contacts like your parents, guardians, etc. on your cell phone as well for speed dialing. Yeah. And just having something there. You can even tattoo them on if you want. I don't care.
But then no one's allowed to change their phone number because that would hurt to re-tattoo.
I know.
Okay, so maybe
it's not recommended, but if you want to.
Any of these other ones that you would like to talk about?
Well, we did health insurance. We have yet to talk about my switching from child providers to adult providers.
You switched from a pediatrician to an adult provider.
Correct.
How did that happen?
Well, I believe I was 14 to 15, where you asked the doctor at the time to just see me alone. And the doctor was just straight up confused and asked why.
Which kind of disappointed me because I really kind of liked the doctor.
Oh, I did as well.
But I thought it was important that he talks directly to you so that you understand it's your health that matters, that you are the one that knows your body, that knows yourself the best. And he didn't really get that.
No, he didn't. And then you guys came to me and asked me, do you want to see your doctor alone? And I responded with the same question the doctor did.
Yeah.
Why?
So then we had to explain again that it's your doctor, it's your health, your body, you're in charge of it. You're the one that knows it the best.
Correct. Well, that's debatable.
Well, it should be. It shouldn't be debatable. You should know how you feel better than anybody else. You should know, be aware of what your body is doing. So that if I ask you, how are you doing, that you have an idea of how you're doing, because I can't look at you and tell how you're feeling. You can say, I hurt. Looking at you, I would have no idea why or where. You would have to tell me, just like you would have to tell a doctor.
True.
So that's what I mean. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
So how did you end up getting an adult provider then? Did you just go with a sign and you stood
No,
you
which
need
is
an
not
adult provider, you need an
recommended.
adult provider?
Do not take that advice at all. That
Okay.
is horrible advice.
Horrible. Okay, horrible advice.
Pretty much you introduced me to your primary care doctor and we just simply clicked.
He's a cool dude.
He's an amazing dude.
Not to mention that he's just not, but it's just not the dude.
No, it's also the nurses and receptionists.
He's got a great team.
He's an amazing team. Plus the hospital actually looks not like a hospital.
Yeah. So you really liked my provider. So we asked him, a little bit early. And so you actually transferred your care before 18.
Yeah. I think we transferred over about 16 and a half.
17 by that point. And I didn't do everything right.
No.
Do you remember your brain scan?
Oh gosh, the brain scan. This ties into why I have an eye specialist.
So we were worried about all sorts of stuff. Yep. And we go in and they recommended that you have a brain scan.
Yep, because my vision at the time was just...
It was going wonky.
It was going very wonky because I
wonky.
was seeing two.
Yeah.
I was seeing double.
And so they were wondering whether there was, some neurological cause going on in there. And so we're in the waiting room and they're just like, so are you looking forward to seeing a picture of your brain afterwards? And you
yes, because I'm always fascinated by random.
That would be really fascinating.
Things.
And I think either me or mom said, oh, that's going to be really interesting.
And thus we had to sign a supported decision paperwork.
Not a supported decision making.
What paperwork did we need to
A
sign?
release of information.
There
Because
it is.
in between your appointment with your pediatrician and your appointment with the
Healthcare.
brain scanner
And my primary care
and
doctor.
primary care doctor, you had turned 18.
Yep.
Which meant that I no longer had access
Nope.
to your health record. So I wouldn't be able to see your brain.
Correct.
So you signed a release of information that said it's okay for my mom and dad to look at my brain.
Yep.
Okay, it actually said, my medical records, but
Medical
that's okay.
records,
For that point, it was to see your brain.
Yep.
Because
to
it's
see
really
your
interesting to
brain
look at your brain. And did they find anything up there?
Yes. Surprisingly, I do have a brain, Dad. It also has something that causes random nosebleeds, which I'm very glad it
Yes.
hasn't happened in years.
I know. I'm really happy that has resolved itself.
Bad news, we did not discover what the problem was with my eyes.
No, well, yeah, it's true. That's still sort of ongoing, isn't it?
Yes, it is ongoing. I have
Yeah.
prisms in my glasses.
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
So
But what doesn't suck is Miss Lauren's story.
she was fascinating to talk to.
100%, as the person interviewing her, she was pretty well.
So she talks about some of the tools as well, right?
Yeah, she talks about pretty much all of them.
Okay, so let's listen to her story.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not. I just want to double check something really quickly.
Mhm.
Hang on 1 second. There we go. We're good to go.
And here we go. This is going to be a fun little adventure for me. So, what is your name and everything, and how old are you?
My name is Lauren. And 15, and I go to school at Ruin Area High School.
And what grade will you be in at that high school?
And I'm a sophomore. I'll be in 10th grade.
Nice. I remember my sophomore year. Granted, mine was online, so That was very fun. So have you started talking about transition at school and everything?
No, not healthcare, but they had a your money class. They've had it your money they have managing your financial life, but I haven't been talking about healthcare, but I've been talking about it with my dad because he's also a doctor. So I started with me just asking questions about like what does pension look like and how I've been going through transition and that kind of stuff. Like I've been helping, so I got pump refills and I've already been holding my hands like above my head like this in order to say, like, because they don't want me touching my pump after they clean it. So I used to hold my mom's hands to make sure I wouldn't touch it, but now I hold my own hands and that kind of stuff to do it. And I've also helped make appointments. So that's some of the stuff we talked about at the Bryson Center consultation too, and that's some ways that I've been helping with my healthcare transition.
So what was the first thing you talked about with your healthcare transition team and everything?
What I want to learn, I want to learn, like how the healthcare, like some switching over to work, and I already know a lot about self-efficacy because of school and how last year was with the COVID. And I said I can't always I heard self-efficacy, and with all my personal care workers, I've been telling them what I need and that kind of stuff. So I talked a little bit about that, but not like actually transitioning to different doctors and different systems and that kind of stuff by myself too. I kind of talked about that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I have ADHD, and I went to one of my not went to, but did a Zoom like kind of like this with one of my providers, and they're talking about maybe going up on one of my meds, and I was like, maybe not yet. Maybe you can my chart about that, and I'm gonna have my mom show me how to actually use my chart later so that I can actually my chart him with her, so that I can actually do that
Nice.
kind of stuff for when I'm older.
That's great.
I'll
Okay,
always
good.
have mom at least I'll always text mom probably when there's bigger decisions. Like I go to the children's hospital and I did an instrument data analysis, and we're going back up there on September 1st, the day before school starts, to get the results. We already know that but I'll always text mom or dad to see if they could do a Zoom with me during one of those major decisions about surgery and that kind of thing. I'll help them if they're not physically there, I'll have them be on a Zoom with me with that. But my dad's trying. He usually goes to Gillette with me for the results, and so he was able to finagle stuff so that he could do that. So I will probably always do at least if I can't do a face-to-face, I'll always do always do a voicemail with personal care workers and parents when it comes to surgery times. Also with personal care workers, I'll probably voicemail them to see when they can when their availability is, because when mom and dad don't take me to appointments anymore, which could be for a while, but I'll have my personal caregivers take me to my appointments, and I'll need to, during the appointment, I'll actually need to probably, if they're not there, or like, if they are there, I'll have them, like, figure out their schedule too, because I'm like, if I can't work their schedule, then how will I get to my appointments too? Because I'll never be able to drive because I have trouble even telling left from right at school. I have CAs. We only they say at the next intersection go. I say at the next intersection go left or right, and sometimes I get that mixed up. So I can't really always tell them left from right for my vision, so I wouldn't be able to really tell which way to go in a car either. So I definitely will never drive myself to an appointment, but I can like make decisions about appointment stuff.
So what do you want your doctor to know about you and everything?
I want my doctor to know about like how I can help and like how I can help with this stuff. And what I like what surgeries I've had. I want them to know that I already had those so they can see if she's already had this. Let's see if there's a way not to put her through more of those again. And that kind of stuff.
All right, cool. Have you started to spend time alone with your doctor? And when did you start that?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So this time Mom was in the room, but that's because we had a lot to talk about. The last time I didn't even have her in the room. And one of my friends that I know from City Valley does the same thing. Doesn't have her mom in the room, so I know about that kind of stuff. But last time my mom was in the room because we had a lot to talk about going up on dose or not, and with Gillette, like that kind of stuff. But I haven't had Mom holding my hands much anymore. Like I actually helped plan the next appointment for the next time and tried to figure out a way I wouldn't miss school for it. Like, being able to help schedule my own appointments, which I've already worked on a little bit, but having more say and knowing my schedule better, even when it changes, like my therapy schedule, because that like I have like right now I have OT, PT, and work. So those are a lot of my appointments. So knowing my therapy, figuring out a way to know my therapy schedule so that I can plan around my other therapy appointments to do my other medical appointments so that I don't like miss my therapy appointment. Like the other day, we had to skip one of my therapy appointments. Hard when I have about 250, 100 to 200, 250 appointments a year, counting my PT and that kind of stuff. So it's not just like pump refill and that kind of stuff. It's also my PT appointments and all that. So it's hard to like schedule times to actually do things like hang out with friends that work for them with my schedule. So a lot of times, like times I would have to hang out with friends, but have to be on the weekend because of how busy I am during the week.
Awesome. I am a really big fan of my chart, Lauren. I will basically go to the highest amount instead of saying how much I love my chart. It is an amazing website. Have you used it and everything?
I haven't, but I'll eventually, maybe when we have, like, I've heard all about it from providers, like another place I go up in Minneapolis has My Gillette, which you can't really do as much on, but my chart you can like schedule, ask questions, and actually when this is kind of weird, when I was on vacation, we can even take pictures, which is really nice. It's saved us a lot of time because I was actually on vacation in a different country. My aunt was able to prescribe antibiotics for my toe. We actually were able to get it removed there. So I really like the fact that you can send pictures, because otherwise we would have had to wait days to get it removed. So I think mine are pretty cool too, but I haven't like used it myself yet. But hopefully I can have another day that I'm not so busy. Maybe on a weekend have sit down with me and do that kind of stuff. And maybe when my brother Alex is older, also have him do some stuff, because I think it would be important for him to know too. Like,
do you? Yep. Sorry for interrupting you there a bit, Lauren. But do
I
you?
don't use it yet.
Yep. Do you want to learn more about how to make your own appointments and everything sometime?
So I know how to help schedule. Like, I know how to help reschedule appointments. Like today, I helped Mom do that a little bit. Like, I looked at her planner with her and did that a little bit. Like, I know how to like plan appointments, and I actually walked up to the scheduling person to make sure that they have it in their system. So we were thinking about doing another appointment to get my pump adjusted, but I'm like, not till we get the results, so that we don't have to do more appointments than necessary in the school. So I know a little bit about how to make appointments and that kind of stuff. I'm like, some of that, but not all of it yet. Like, I've made decisions on what I eat. Like, for school, I mostly take, cause I got made fun of one time when I didn't. I take veggies, hummus, 2 cheese sticks, and like protein. So I've already made a lot of decisions, like food-wise, when I like, and what I should buy wise, like when I don't get a lot of veggies, I decide to drink the VH because I don't feel it unless I get a lot of veggies. Like last night, we didn't get a lot of veggies because we went to a Jackson, and I made the decision to like, we brought veggies, and I ate quite a bit of that. Like, I can tell when to stop eating and like the food decision, like when to buy something to sit in and that kind of stuff. I'm able to just go do like the food decisions and like that kind of stuff by myself.
That was Lauren's story.
There's so much in there.
There was so much more in there. And yes, this man did edit it down.
It's my first try at editing, and it wasn't perfect.
So round of applause for my dad.
Thank you
for doing his best.
Yeah, there were a few cameos
Yes,
by various people's
yes.
voices or pictures of them in there.
Yep,
That was really
yours
kind of
was the
fun.
longest.
Of course.
Lauren's mom also made an appearance. And who was the third person there with us?
Seth. making an
Uh,
appearance. Beth Moss, who's the coordinator of the Youth Health Transition.
Hmm.
So what were some of the things that you learned from Lauren? What were some of the ways that she is advocating for herself?
I learned that a lot of people truly do need help in making self-advocacy a possibility for them. I learned that not everyone has the same story or
Mhm.
puzzle that they have for themselves to put in self-advocacy, independence, self-determination, and everything. Yes, I'm plugging that a lot because that's what this conference is about.
Yeah, and so she showed self-determination in helping to make her own appointments, in
Mhm.
planning out how she's going to make decisions when she
Right.
grows up. If she doesn't want somebody making her decisions for her,
No.
but she wants help making those decisions.
Right.
She-
We all need to reach out for help when we don't understand or need it.
Absolutely.
That is one of my problems. Is not asking for help, but no one has the exact opposite. She wants to help.
She is
people.
really good at asking for help,
Yeah,
isn't she?
she's amazing at it.
Cool. And then she's made decisions about her food stuff and what she likes to eat. She knows when she feels better,
Mhm.
when she eats good stuff.
Yep. This is it. Yay.
So the other thing that we wanted to touch on really quick is that there are things called readiness assessments out there. So
Made by our friends at Got Transition.
made from our friends at Got Transition. And so these are there to help go through. You can go through them. You can have parents go through them. You can have friends, whatever.
You can have your
whoever.
teacher go through them.
Teacher
You
go
can have
through
the
'em, your
principal
employer,
go through
whatever,
them.
whoever.
Your leadership of the ITP team go through them. Your
Yeah.
best friend can help you go through it. Anyone can go through it. It's in English and Spanish.
And why would you use the what is it for?
It's pretty much to help understand transition and how
Yeah.
ready you are for it.
So the different parts of transition and what you may need to work on.
Mhm.
Because there's some things in transition that we may never have to do or be able to do.
Right. And then there's some things that are pretty much the Mount Everest of
Right.
transitions that you can't do.
That's
Or
right.
you don't understand.
But there's always something you can do.
Exactly.
And so let's work on those things. Let's build those skills.
Let's get across that bridge and those stepping stones.
All right. So we have the link to the resources for the readiness assessments in the files. And then also we mentioned the transition improvement grant. We've been talking a lot about self-advocacy. Pacer Center has some fantastic resources on self-care. Also included some final recommendations from the parents that we've talked to.
From parents for parents.
Yes, from parents for parents. And most of all, we want you all to be kind and gentle with yourself. We
And
apologize.
take your time.
Apologize for going over a little bit. So then your final words are, what about transition?
Take your time. It is not something you can just dive headfirst or feet first into. This is a long bridge, and I'm still not fully done walking across that bridge. No one is fully done walking across that bridge because that bridge of transition is life. There are multiple mountains in life with these bridges that you need to cross the gap for. And healthcare transition is one of them.
And do you have to make any of those alone?
No, you always need a helping hand. You should never go it alone. You should always have self-determination to figure out how far you can get before you need to ask for that help.
Yeah, so I can set my goals and I can let
Hopefully
people
very
know,
realistic,
right? And let people know where I want to go and what I want to do. And then I can invite others to join me and come along with me.
Yes.
All right. Well, we are going to stop there. So please be kind and gentle with yourself. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will hang out if there's a couple minutes. Please feel free to put any questions into the chat and we'll do our best to answer them as long as Cody lets us stay on. Thank you.
Yes. Cody is the master of this Zoom room.